What's going on, guys? It's Sam here, and today we're going to be talking about a new survival game called Nightingale. This might be something that you saw a couple years ago and you kind of forgot about. I didn't actually even realize that it was going to be released early access this year, but it was definitely something that I was looking forward to. It has this like Victorian era, kind of like roaring 20s, like mid-industrial revolution kind of combination with magic and like the Fae, which is definitely a concept I thought there would be more games with. But with their own concoction of storyline, they've created this open world kind of survival game that for me is actually really enjoyable. If you go onto the Steam page, there's a lot of negative reviews, and it's been a little surprising for me because just the experience that I've had is like kind of wildly different from what the Steam forums are saying, at least. So I just wanted to get into it and talk a little bit about the game and what I've been enjoying so far. As always, if you are wanting to go into this empty or blind, I definitely recommend just waiting until you purchase the game before watching this. There are going to be some things that I would kind of consider spoilers, nothing related to the story, but the world in general. So if that's you, I'll miss you. Hopefully see you when you get done. But without further ado, let's get going. Right off the bat, I'm about 20 hours in. I feel like I could probably progress the story significantly farther than I have. But I have a really bad habit of just taking a very long time to do almost everything. And so that game, it really works against me in this situation just because I kind of take a very long time to progress through the story. I will say, though, that this hasn't stopped me from enjoying the game at all. Nightingale is a survival game. It's kind of a crafter, open world type game, similar to things like Rust, Ark, Palworld, stuff like that. And basically, you're a human that meets this Fae, and he's trying to help you get back to Nightingale, where is basically the main city for human civilization. But the portal system that the humans developed with the help of the Fae has stopped working. And so you're trying to get yourself back there. They call you a realm walker. And you'll run into a lot of other people that are going through the same thing as you while trying to make their way back. The core gameplay loop basically revolves around, you have let's call it like a home world, basically. It's a place where you have an estate. This is going to be where you'll build your house, you'll do a lot of your crafting, and you'll spend a good portion of your time here. Think of this as like your home base, basically. And there's going to be quests for you to do in this area. There's going to be some storyline progression in this area. But I would say the vast majority of time you're going to be spending going through these different realms. So one of the key features of this game is this portal feature. It has to do with how you get back to Nightingale, basically. And so you'll be going through these different portals, visiting different realms, trying to find certain resources, trying to find certain individuals, doing quest lines, and basically just discovering more technology so that you're able to kind of progress farther in the game. I really enjoy this realm system. I think it's very cool, and you have to use these cards that you obtain throughout the game, basically. These cards, they have different kind of specific traits that are going to help you choose where you're going to end up going. You'll start out with a biome card, and this will help you select which biome you're going to go to. I believe there's only swamp, desert, and forest. You'll also have to choose, I call it a difficulty card. Basically, there's a lot of different difficulties that you can go to, and even I haven't gotten all of them. But depending on which card you use, it kind of changes the level of the monsters that are in the region, as well as the resources that you're going to find. And you'll use this combination of two cards to basically go to these other realms, gather resources, progress in the storylines, and basically make your way back to Nightingale. Now, while you're traveling through all these realms, you're going to be gathering resources to create items to help you out with combat. You're going to be building bases, and both these aspects of the game have been very enjoyable. The base building is one of my favorite. I do enjoy games that have very nice, snappy base building features. And I would say that this game does it very well. The base building is very fun. There are a lot of different like resources that you can use, different wood, you can use stone, you can make things look really great, or you can just be like me and make a giant rectangle. There are tons of different tiers of materials, as well as tiers of like things like your crafting workbenches, your refining workbenches, as well as the tools that you'll use. You have your standard tools in this game, pickaxe, hatchet, knife, sickle. And thank God there's fishing, because everybody loves fishing. And you'll gather resources for these. You'll build your estate. You'll build whatever you want, really. That's the nice thing about that estate realm that you have is basically a very safe realm for you to kind of build wherever you want without having to worry about losing everything. This is the only realm that's going to save your progression, because when you visit other realms, you're not going to have access to your base and stuff like that. And so you can go back and forth generally and go back to your estate realm and then kind of like craft and stuff like that. But you might be spending a lot of time in these other realms, a couple hours, say. And so you're going to need access to a couple things to at least make your life a little bit easier. But luckily, each one of these realms always has a good amount of, let's say, like human civilization that you are able to access and use for yourself. I'd like to say that the combat is very simple and enjoyable. I personally, I'm not really looking for like an intense combat system when I'm playing a game like this. And I feel like you almost don't want to overcomplicate it, because the main aspect of this game is really exploration and surviving. It's not really the combat. But I think that they did a very good job with the combat. It's a very simple system. You can use all of your tools. There's guns. There's enchantments. There's a pretty fun like block or dodge mechanic in the game. Depending on what weapon you have, you can either block with it, or you can do this dodge that kind of makes you jump like pretty decent like distance. And all enemies have like weak spots. There's actually 2 on a lot of enemies, which I thought was really nice. They actually give you criticals for hitting like the heart as well as headshots. And I personally really appreciate that, because it's not really something that is considered very often. But the combat, very straightforward, very simple, and I think it's very fair. I haven't really had a terrible time, even with the bosses. I would say it's a very even opportunity type game, and there's a lot of room for cheese, as always, when a combat system is very simple. So I often find myself running around pillars and stuff like that, kiting things. But I do think that the combat is very enjoyable. Now, when you're in each of these realms, you can actually make changes to the realms that you're in, depending on what you're trying to do. And that's with this third card that you don't put in when you open the portal. This is a card that you use at this little like realm changer. And these cards, so like say you're going out and you want to get a lot of stone or minerals. There's a card that'll increase the amount of stone or minerals you get in the realm. Same thing with plants. There's things that make it to where you're able to jump very high and you don't take fall damage. There's things that'll increase your damage, but also increase the damage that you take. Lots of very small buffs that you can use to kind of change your experience everywhere you go. You can only have one of these active at a time, but it definitely makes for very enjoyable gameplay. I have really been enjoying the realm system. There's been a lot of complaints that it's just kind of bland and not all that fun, but I feel like with each biome that I go to, I mean, yes, there's similarities if you're going to a forest realm to another forest realm, right? Or a swamp to another swamp, a desert to another desert. But I would say that each realm has been very unique and very enjoyable. I don't really see the like repetitiveness, because in any survival like game, you're going to run into that. I mean, look at Minecraft. Like Minecraft has the same biomes everywhere. Like, are you upset about that? Or is that just part of the game? And we have to remember, it's an early access, so they have the ability to add whatever biomes they want to. Who knows what they're going to be doing in the future? But to sum it up, overall, I'm very happy with the core gameplay loop. Very happy with the crafting, the combat, and the realm system, and I feel like it makes for a very fun survival game. Moving into like bugs or any issues that I've been having, I don't know if it's just me, but I've been having a great time. I haven't ran into any kind of game-breaking bugs that would really put me in a terrible mood. There's been a lot of complaints online in the reviews if you go onto Steam due to the fact that the game is only currently online. So you have to have an internet connection if you want to play this game, even if you're playing solo. I haven't been playing with anybody, and it's still online basically. So they've already addressed this and said that they are working on the offline basically mode. So one, that's positive already. They're taking this feedback and they are listening. So it's already something that they're working on. But a lot of people are complaining about network errors, because one of the negatives, a lot of you probably played Starfield. You know how Starfield is just a loading screen simulator. So in this game, when you go to other realms, opening up the portal takes like 1 to 2 minutes. Whenever you open up a portal, there's a chance that the bound, which are the enemies in this realm, are going to spawn and try and like attack you, and you just have to clear out these waves before that the portal opens. But once you go into the portal, there's a loading screen. This loading screen sometimes takes like a minute to go through, and I do believe it's because of this network. And so I guess some people are getting network errors when they're trying to move between realms. I have not ran into this issue at all. The loading screen is about a minute, but since you're only going to a new realm, I would say every like 4 to 5 hours or even longer. I've only gone to like 4, and I've played about 20 hours. I don't really care too much for the long loading screen because it's loading in a lot, and it's not something that you run into very often. When you go back to kind of going into a portal, then teleporting back to your home, the loading screen is not as long as going into a brand new realm. But I personally have not had any issues with this. Another one of the complaints has been around the crafting system. The crafting system is really interesting because there's a bunch of workbenches that you're going to have to build. You're going to need to build all of these because they basically work together. You'll need to build something from one thing to, complete the other one, so on and so forth, which is a very, very, very common thing in a lot of these survival games or just crafting games in general. And on top of this, for some items, you need to build these smaller things that are called augments. So for example, there's a pistol that you get relatively early on in the game. If you actually played through the story, it took me a bit to get to it. But this pistol, you need to build this thing called a saddle rack, and it needs to be within range of a workbench for you to be able to build the pistol. So these small little augmentations, they're called, give you access to different items in the game. I personally think it's a very cool in-depth system. It's not something that I consider to be a blocker, because I feel like in these games, you need to be spending a long time. Like the whole point is to sink your time into gathering resources for crafting and all this other stuff. And having like a very complex crafting system doesn't really bother me there. The one negative I would say in this game is that there are a very wide range of items that are the same. So when it comes to animals, for example, there's prey animals, there's predators, there's bugs, and honestly, there might be a couple more that I haven't ran into yet, but all of these things are separated when it comes to their items. So like if I were to kill a bug and kill a predator, when I go and skin them, I'll get tier 1 meat, I'll get tier 1 hide, and I'll get tier 1 bones from both of them. However, they don't stack as items because it says tier 1 hide predator and it says tier 1 hide bug. And that works for every single animal that's in this game. It also is true for materials like woods and metals. For me, it is annoying. It definitely makes your inventory management kind of a pain. You're not able to craft something. Let's say we're making ingots. So ingots are made from metal. There's a lot of different metals in this game. And the thought process, I believe, is that different metals have different stats. So it's like some metals might be good at duration and strength, whereas other metals are good for range damage and let's say like stamina reduction or something like that. So you have to actually think, I would assume at least in the end game. I don't really care too much right now because it's not really too crazy difficult. But if you're trying to min-max your stats, like there are a lot of different combinations of items that you can use to come out with a completely different item depending on how you build something and what materials you use. It just makes it kind of a pain when it comes to your inventory management, as well as using the correct material when you're crafting. So something I run into a lot with this game is that it'll use materials that you might not want to use. Like there's this tree boss that you can fight. There's miniature ones of them too. And they drop a specific type of wood that has higher level stats than something else. However, the game just sees this as a wood bundle, and you can get wood bundles from chopping down trees. So now if I were to go and create lumber, which uses wood bundles, it's going to just grab whatever wood bundles are in your inventory when you go to craft it. And so if you don't specify what wood bundles to use, you'll end up using a lot of resources that you might want to save. And that is a whole nother problem in itself that I'll talk about in another video. But I think that it, in general, makes the crafting system so much more in depth and enjoyable for a survival game that normally they don't have this type of intense crafting system. I feel like this leans more towards an MMORPG like Path of Exile type crafting than it does a survival game where it's like you just go gather, okay, go get 10 pieces of coal and 10 pieces of iron will make some steel bars, and then you're just gonna make steel level like tools. No. I can make tools of any level with any type of material that I want. So it's like, if I want my pickaxe to have X stats, I'll make it with tin. If I want it to have these stats, I'll make it with shimmering ingots. Like, there's a lot of really cool things that I think people are underappreciating because it makes the game more complicated. I will say that if you don't have or want to spend a large amount of time really figuring out how the game works or just exploring, because every like 2 hours I'll be like, oh shit, that's how I'm supposed to do this. I'm an idiot. Like, I was going into new realms, building complete new bases that look exactly like my base in my main world. And that would take up a large portion of time. It was fun and I didn't mind it, but it's like, I didn't need to do that. I learned I could just use the human housing and the civilization that's in each realm to do the things that I need to. And I was like, oh, all of this is here because I need to be able to use this. Like, you sleep in this game, and there's a secondary stamina system that basically has to do with your rest. And if you don't sleep for a long time, your stamina goes down. And so I was building a base because I thought like, oh, I'm supposed to be in this realm. I'm going to need like a house. I'm going to need all my crafting benches, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, for the crafting benches, you can find a lot of them in the open world in each of these realms. And on top of that, generally, you can go back and forth between the realm that you're visiting and then the main realm that your house, your estate is in. So that's how you can do your crafting. And then when it comes to sleep, there's houses all over these realms that have beds everywhere, and you just sleep in those. It saves you so much time. You don't have to worry about building a roof, building a house, putting a bed in there, blah, blah, blah. So like, I'm running into situations where I'm learning stuff every single day, every couple of hours. And for me, that's what makes a game enjoyable. It's not just a single layer. It is a multi-layered game that has a lot going for it. And then lastly, I'll just touch on the visuals. The game looks amazing. I have a 3080 Ti and a pretty all right computer that I built about 2 years ago. And I haven't had any issues with like stutter or anything like that. We'll run into situations where at nighttime, the bound will spawn all over the place. So that's normally why you go to bed. You don't stay up at night. But when like 40 to 50 to 60 of them spawn all at the same time, my computer's like, yo, what's going on? But other than that, the game does not stutter. I haven't really had any lag. There's no like screen tear or anything like that. And the game just looks amazing. I've really been enjoying all of these games that have been coming out on Unreal Engine 5. I feel like it's such a fantastic software that has just made great looking games more easily accessible. I feel like you would have to generally wait for, a larger studio to come out with something. And now it's like everyone has access to this, and I'm really enjoying it. So it's a fantastic looking game. The artwork that they have in the skies is amazing. As you use cards to change the realms, it generally has some type of effect on the sky, and it's just gorgeous. So visuals, I've just really been enjoying myself. All of the models are fairly unique. The enemies look cool. The monsters are very interesting and ugly. The humans are very, very funny looking, I have to say. The character creation was very, very unique and in-depth. I liked it a lot. I'm not one to spend a lot of time on kind of character creation, but this game actually did make me take kind of a couple second looks because it was so fun. You can't normally make a lot of changes to like the skull and stuff like that, right? So I'm sure there's some pretty wonky characters out there, and I look forward to seeing them all. To sum everything up, since I've been droning on for a little bit here, I would like to give this game right now in its current state a solid 8 of 10. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because it's in early access still. There are people that are having issues, and there are some things that they need to work out. But it's a very strong 8. The core gameplay loop for a survival game is fantastic. I love the crafting system. The combat system is just in depth enough for me to enjoy it, but not too overly complicated where I'm always thinking about combat. I always get to focus on exploration, and I think that's what's most important in these survival type games. I mean, gathering resources, exploring the new worlds, finding new enemies, like getting new materials, learning how to build things. That should be the focus in a game like this, not really the combat, in my opinion. And maybe other people might think a different way. But I mean, if I go back and I think about the combat systems in a large majority of these survival games, it's generally just like, you progress through with sticks, then you get to stone, then you get to metal, then maybe you'll get some ranged weapons outside of a bow. And, people normally die fairly quickly. and it's not really all that, intense. Whereas like at least this system has HP bars for the monsters, there's crit spots, you get to see nice numbers when you smack things, there's a nice plethora of enemies for you to fight, and I feel like the combat's just like in a perfect place for this type of game. The visuals are fantastic. I think the game looks amazing, and their unique features that are specific to this game I do find enjoyable. The realm system is really cool. These realm cards are very unique, and you get to do a lot of very fun things to change how you're playing the game. The difficulty has scaled fairly well. I haven't really found the game super difficult. I'm just playing on the normal difficulty. I haven't found anything too intensely hard. There's been some boss fights that have been like a little annoying, but nothing to where it's like, wow, this sucks. I can't believe they let me do this. Generally, you follow the tutorial along or the suggestions for you to get a certain gear score and stuff like that, and you're going to be okay. The only thing that I can't talk on is that I have not played this game with others. I like playing through these games solo. I love survival games. I feel like the solo experience has been very fun. Obviously, when you're playing a game like this, having multiple people is going to make everything go faster because you're able to gather resources quicker. You're able to take down enemies faster and stuff like that. But I've been having a really good time playing solo. I don't think that the game's too difficult for one person. Resources have kind of like stacked exponentially in regards to what amount I need for certain items, because it's a little in depth. It's like you got to turn, this metal into this piece of material, then from this piece of material into this piece of material, so on and so forth. But I don't think it's to a point where like I don't want to play anymore because it's taking me too long to gather resources. I'm able to just go into the realms, have a good time, maybe take some resources out, and if I really need something particular, I'll just go find it. But that hasn't stopped me from progressing through the game at a decent state, in my opinion, and having a good time. So I hope that you guys definitely do check this out. I do think that it's a game in a good place. Obviously, there's been a lot of these games releasing right now, so if you're still playing like Enshrouded, if you're still enjoying Palworld, no rush. I mean, the game's in early access, and it's only hopefully going to get better as they make updates. So keep enjoying the game that you're playing. And then maybe once you need a new game, I highly recommend Nightingale to you, because I do think that it is very true and enjoyable for the survival genre. I'll be making some more videos on this because I've been having a very good time playing. If you guys have any specific questions or want me to go over any topic, definitely let me know down below. If you want to see more content on survival games, survivor-like roguelikes, or just games in general, go ahead and drop me a like and subscribe. It's appreciated. And as always, guys, hope to see you on the next one.